everyone, Cole here with trainwithcole.com, and it's time for me to make a video. Today I wanted to talk about why low carbohydrate style dieting and following a more moderate protein and moderate to high fat diet actually might be extremely beneficial for you when your goal is to get leaner, look better naked, feel better about yourself physically. A lot of times we see, and actually anytime if you walk up and down a grocery store aisle, you see this. You see low fat this, half fat that, 1/3 less fat than regular whatever. And we just see this constant influx of information about how we should constantly just be eating low fat, low fat, low fat, low fat. And this is something that has been produced and propelled by the media and the FDA for over the last 15, 20, up to even possibly 30 years. And for good reason. The reason they do this is because they don't want people, as Americans, especially as very unhealthy, obese Americans, to be overly consuming the bad fats that exist, things like trans fat and saturated fat, right? If you remember a few years ago, there was a big kick where all of the fast food companies were trying to get rid of any kind of trans fat product that they sold because it can just have negative implications on cholesterol levels, triglycerides, and cause a lot of those kind of just cardiovascular issues or exasperate current pre-existing cardiovascular issues. It's just not a healthy substrate type of fat to be eating. Same can be said for saturated fats as well. And so it's not wrong that we see that. But what I want to argue today and share is why I think more people, if they followed a lower carbohydrate approach instead of a low fat approach, and then conversely had a moderate amount of protein and then a moderate to high amount of fat, actually might get leaner, lose weight, and then subsequently feel better about themselves, aesthetically speaking. Because what you don't hear a lot about is there are a lot of good fats in the world, right? You can't categorize fats as in one category. There are bad fats and there are good fats that the body needs to have good cholesterol and have good triglyceride numbers and good cardiovascular health, believe it or not. What are these fats? These are like the omega-3s, things like fish oil, omega-3 eggs. These are unsaturated, monounsaturated style fats, things that you find in olive oils and macadamia nut oils, even like medium chain triglycerides, which is found in something like coconut oil. These kind of healthy fats do a lot of positive things for the body, and we definitely need them in our diet. They are essential. There's a lot, and that's a big reason why we do need fats is there's such thing as an essential fatty acid that our body doesn't produce, and that we need them to maintain regular bodily functions. So we can't just not consume any fat because that wouldn't be good for our bodies. The problem is, though, is either people don't know about good fats, or if they do know about them, they think it's this get out of jail free kind of pass where they can just eat as many as they want and that nothing bad's going to happen. No, you still definitely gain weight if you overeat, period. The law of thermodynamics, the relationship of calories in versus calories out, energy in versus energy expended, that doesn't change just because it's a healthy, good version of a macronutrient, like a good fat versus a bad fat. So don't go pouring olive oil all over your salad and different dishes that you eat, because extra calories, if they're not used and the body doesn't have energy demand for them, will get stored as fat. But why does a lower carbohydrate approach help us lose a little bit of weight? Well, for a few reasons. Some research does support this, but we see it anecdotally all the time. Somebody goes on a low carb diet, like an Atkins style diet, and they lose a ton of weight. That's for a couple of reasons. Number one is because they just reduce their whole caloric intake by a lot. And we won't really get into the specific of Atkins, but and I say that only because with Atkins specifically. Here we go, quick rabbit trail. I don't like Atkins because people go on it, they don't have any carbs, they lose weight, and they go off Atkins and they gain it all back because they learned nothing about lifestyle change or just monitoring total energy intake. That's why it doesn't work all the time. It needs to be diet needs to be sustainable. Okay. But low fat diets help, low carbohydrate diets help because for a couple reasons. Number one, when we consume less carbs, our blood sugar levels are a little more stable. Our insulin levels are more stable in the body, which means we don't feel this up and down energy, then grogginess and tiredness. Energy and grogginess and tiredness every time we eat carbohydrates. Typically, people feel a lot better throughout their day when their blood sugar and insulin levels are stable, and consuming lower amounts of carbohydrates, it helps our bodies do that. Conversely, when we swap out the amount of calories that we normally consume from carbs for fats, we're giving our body a harder time, in a sense, of storing those calories as fat. Meaning if we consume a bunch of carbohydrates that our body doesn't have a need for, they're readily stored as adipose or fat tissue. Whereas if we consume more calories with fats, yes, they can still be stored, but our bodies can also use them readily for energy. And we don't have the same blood sugar and insulin issues, which can cause fat storage like we do when we eat more carbohydrates. And then when we consume moderate amounts of protein, I find, along with the higher fat, we're much more satiated. So we might not crave or be as hungry as often throughout our day. So we're not going to just eat more anyway. Everyone knows when you eat carbohydrates, you don't get too satiated from that. You're going to want to eat more. Your hunger levels typically increase, and then you might end up consuming more calories than you meant to. But I find just with when I put clients on this kind of style of dieting, or I see people follow a lower carb, moderate protein, moderate to high fat diet, what I've just talked about typically is true. People typically get leaner, they feel better throughout their day, and actually they find that their gym performance doesn't really suffer at all. If anything, they feel like it improves because they don't feel so groggy and up and down throughout the whole day. They have more energy for the gym, so therefore they perform better. And then another benefit of this is higher fat and moderate protein diets are really satiating and very palatable. You can make a lot of tasty dishes with, oils and egg yolks and things like that, and different meats together. And just make them taste really good. So that's going to be another way, is you're going to feel like you don't have as many cravings because you're eating tasty foods, and can really make some awesome dishes from that kind of style of dieting. So realize that having fats in your diet are in no way a negative thing. Again, we need some essential fatty acids, but just like any dieting practice period, it's about figuring out what are your caloric demands for the goal that you have, and then eating in that regard. But when we consume certain breakdowns of macronutrients, we can typically have better success at weight loss or weight gain if we're trying to build muscle tissue. In this case, weight loss, using fat as energy, keeping our carbohydrates lower. Typically, we see that happen. So give this a shot. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, comments, comment below. Hit like, and please subscribe if you want some more information and videos. I love making these videos. Love talking about this kind of stuff with people. Happy to help any way I can. Have a great day.